Travel.radio.
In recent weeks, we've been talking about adventure closer to home, such as Madeira and Iceland, as we look at where our listeners can go over the summer. But with the Peruvian government announcing the reopening of the iconic Inca Trail later this summer, I thought it was about time that we spoke about somewhere a bit further afield. It's a hike that is at the top of almost every hiker's travel list, packed full of history, culture, and incredible landscapes, and taking trekkers along ancient Inca pathways to the famous citadel of Machu Picchu. I'm joined today by someone who knows Peru and the trail like the back of her hand. It's our general manager for Latin America, Sarah Miginiac. Sarah, great to have you on the show.
Hey, Brian. Very happy to join you today. I'm so looking forward to it.
How are you? You well?
I'm very, very good. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, this is all very exciting news that's come out of Peru, especially around the Inca Trail that'll be reopening from August this year. Now, this really is one of the most iconic trips that Gadventures offers, would you not say, Sarah?
Oh, it's fantastic. I think we all grew up learning at school about the mystery of the Incas. The Incas have left really small and little information about how they used to live. So it's all a mystery when you find all of those cities perched on the top of the mountain in the Andes. Mm-hmm. So yes, the Inca Trail has really been the center of all our trips in Peru. But the magic of Peru is that you don't only do the Inca Trail and Machu Picchu. You manage to add on so much around it. You can do the jungle. You can do the coast of Peru with the desert and the Nazca lines. You can go to the Colca Canyon, see the condors and Lake Titicaca. So you really manage in Peru to do a complete trip, and not even if you're really a hiker and you want to do the Inca Trail, you really have a lot to do around it.
No, absolutely. I remember a few years ago having the privilege when we were down there and going to see the Nazca lines, but I'm not so sure I'd like to get back on the plane because I'm being scared of heights and such lights. But that was an experience and a half, and you just sort of think to like that and think it's an amazing what's been, what they did in their time and the history that sat behind it all. It really is an experience. So talking, I know, like in terms of Peru and Machu Picchu reopening, there's a number of different treks around Machu Picchu area. But what is it that makes the Inca Trail so special? Because it is so popular.
I mean, the Inca Trail is magical. It is 4 days walking on an actual Incan roads. I mean, all those stones that have been put in place on that path, and you get to Machu Picchu. So you've got your big final reveal with Machu Picchu, but all the way during 4 days, your guide will help you build up to that big reveal. You will see campsites. You'll have all the nature. You see some birds. You see some very special flowers, all the orchids. So it's all a path, and you change through being really high in altitude with a very scarce vegetation until you go into Machu Picchu, and then you're going down to the jungle into a very luxurious vegetation, and you can imagine how it was all covering Machu Picchu before. So it really is magical, and that's why this is really the most popular trek. But and that's the only one really that gets you walking into Machu Picchu. But there are other treks in Cusco and in Peru in general.
No. And the trek will presumably have a number of new safety procedures in place. So what could travelers expect?
So, I mean, the biggest news is the 50% capacity on the trek. But apart from that, so we have run 2 trial trips already on the Inca Trail. It was an opportunity for us to work with other companies, with other agencies, to work with local institutions, to really try all our health and safety protocols that we have established at Gadventures. So we're going to apply all our normal health and protocols, with some enhancements, because we know that some people can suffer from high altitude, and some of those symptoms can be very similar to the symptoms of COVID. So we're going to go far deeper into temperature check for all our travelers every day. But we have also worked very closely with our porters. So we are going to see them, we train them to make sure that they understand all our protocols, not only to protect our travelers, and that's really the most important for us, it's also to protect themselves. Like we really want to make sure that we protect our porters. So we're working with them to make sure they understand all our protocols, how to apply them for our travelers, how to apply them for themselves, and create that idea of a bubble group.
Yeah.
So we make sure that we take all the travelers from the same community, so people who are already in contact naturally through their daily life with each other. So when we bring them on the trail, we're not exposing them to other porters from other communities.
Excellent. Yeah. So lots of work going into the safety of this to get this trip up and running again.
Oh, but the porters are so excited. All the staff, everybody in Cusco was really excited about the news of the Inca Trail reopening.
I can imagine. They're some of our most passionate staff that we have at Gadventures at the best of times, let alone having the opportunity to get back up and running. I can imagine they are very excited. So in normal times, Sarah, before the pandemic, the route was permitted to help protect the trail. That's correct?
Yes, correct. So you had 500 permits per day in the past, of which I would say about 200 were for travelers and about 300 for porters and staff. Now, the route has been closed to only 250 permits, 100 passengers, and 150 porters. Additionally to that, they have created different routes of campsites that we have to choose ahead of time to make sure that even if you have 100 travelers plus 150 porters on the road, you do not have all of them at the same campsites on each day.
Sure.
But it's all, it's a fantastic opportunity to do the trek with very little people around, because more than any time, there's half the people, and you will have different time of entry, and different campsites. So really, it's supposed to be a fantastic experience with very few people around you.
Yeah, I can imagine. Actually, if you were planning to go, now's the time to really go.
Now is the time,
get
exactly.
That different experience for sure. So the trek is going to be operating at 50% capacity, presumably with lots of people who have had their previous trips delayed due to COVID, looking to lock in their hike too. It is going to sell out pretty quickly, I'm sure.
That's our expectation. With countries around the world opening up little by little as they get their population vaccinated, we really think that yes, the permits are going to sell out very quickly. We recommend people to really take action as soon as they can. We, on our hand, are really good at securing permit. We have a team dedicated to permits for the Inca Trail. So yes, highly recommend people to just go for it now.
No, absolutely, yes. Start thinking ahead in advance. And I think as well for the UK, we're obviously sat fingers crossed at the moment, waiting for the government to announce when people that have been double vaccinated will be able to travel without having to isolate on return. And therefore, I'm hoping at that point, we will then see an explosion of people that are desperate to get back to Peru and take their tour and do the Inca Trail.
Exactly.
And for travellers that are wanting to book the Inca Trail, not just obviously in the current opportunity that's available because they're back on sale, but thinking like that time and longer, into the future and such like, what advice would you give them? Is there a certain time of year to go, or is it all year round?
So the Inca Trail from past experience, we don't know exactly how the future will be. But for now, the Inca Trail was opened from all year round except February. So it was always closed in February. We do expect it will continue to be that way because February was the month that they would do maintenance.
Yeah.
Now, best time of the year, May, I would say April to October is drier. Mm-hmm. November until beginning of March is what we call the rainy season. Yeah. But it's showers. You might have one big shower during the day, during 1 or 2 hours, and then nothing else. Yeah. Or you might be lucky and have nothing. And usually it is easier to secure permits during rainy season than it is during the dry season. I've done it in dry, wet, and middle season. Yeah. And honestly, I recommend any season. I think the trek is so magical in general that it all has, when it's rainy season, it's all so green, and I personally really like it in rainy season.
Yeah, no, I must admit. I mean, you're going for a specific reason and not going necessarily for the sunshine and such like. So I'm with you. It wouldn't actually bother me. I think I'm also one of those that quite like to do it in a rainy season, bit of a challenge as well in some respect. But yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
And in terms of fitness levels, it's quite challenging, more so because of altitude. So what sort of fitness levels do you think people need to have?
I mean, you need to be fit. There's no secret. You need to be able to do a 4-day trek. Now, the length, it's only about 40 kilometers that you do in 4 days. So it's not a high number of kilometers per day. It's the altitude that can be more challenging. But a very simple advice for everybody is you don't arrive in Cusco and do the trek the next day. You arrive in Cusco, you get at least a good day, 1 or 2 days to get used to the altitude. And then you get rolling. And as I said, it's not a high number of kilometers. So we start hiking very early in the morning, which really gives everybody the time to walk at their own pace. We have enough staff on the trail to make sure that people can just go slow if they want to go slow and not worry about who is walking faster at the beginning of the group,
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And likewise, they can get there, like you said, a couple of days early, climatise, and we've got lots of things that they could book whilst they're there for those couple of days to keep themselves occupied, find out more about, Peru and such likes as well.
Yes.
And in terms of carrying their belongings, so a question that we get asked a lot, what's the situation there, or your advice?
So we have a team of porters. So we usually have about for a group of 10, you would have about 15, 16 porters. Okay. So they carry your own gear. I mean, your clothes, etc. You carry your own day pack with your own personal. But our porters will carry about 6 kilos of personal belongings. 6 kilo, when you say it like that, seems little, but in reality 6 kilo is a good amount. It's a lot. You fit a lot in 6 kilos.
Right.
And they are amazing. We've been working very closely with our porter. We know most of them, I would say 90% of them, we've been working with them for many, many years. It's been a difficult time for them, but we've kept in touch with the porters during all the pandemic. We've had a few funding going on for the porters as well to help them out during this year. And now they're ready to hit the road. Really, that's what they want. They want to go back, hit the roads, see the travelers. And we're there to work with them, make sure that they're going to stay healthy, and that we're going to give them the best work condition that we can.
Fantastic. Now, as with lots of Gadventures trips, supporting local communities is really at the heart of what we do. And I've seen, firsthand some of the amazing work we do in Peru. Can you talk a little bit more about the impact on local people that the trail has?
I mean, our work has definitely in Peru and around Cusco has had a massive impact on some local communities, all the ones that we work with. So we've helped communities of porters through the work that we do. We do organize projects everywhere, like Christmas in the community for the kids of our porters. But we've also seen, so you've heard of the project of Cacacoyo, which is our weaving project.
Yeah.
So most, in the past, we used to use lots of men from this community work on the Inca Trail. The women who were staying at home reached out to us saying, "Hey, we're on our own here in the community. Couldn't we do something as well for all your travelers?" And that's how all the project in Cacacoyo was born. Now, in terms of porters, we don't work much more anymore with Cacacoyo, which I think is a fantastic story, is that with the years, they had really, through the work on the Inca Trail, they really had a steady income coming every month. And they've created other opportunities for themselves. So now we have very few men from the community who work on the Inca Trail, because many of them have earned their little money and invested in their own small businesses, whether in their community or in Cusco. So we can see the positive impact of the Inca Trail through the years, and Cacacoyo is a perfect example.
That is fantastic. Yeah, I love those sort of stories. And for some of the travelers who don't want to do the whole Inca Trail, there are some alternatives that are available.
Yes. So you can do the one-day Inca Trail. We have it available on lots of trips. You take the train to go to the bottom of Machu Picchu, to the town of Aguascalientes. But on the way, the train will stop and you'll get off and you start going up the mountain up to what we call Huayna, which is one of the places that is visited by the usual 4-day Inca Trail. And so you'll do that walk in one day to that campsite. You'll have lunch there, and then you'll continue walking in the afternoon all the way to Machu Picchu. So it's a one-day trek. You walk an actual Inca Trail path, and you still make it walking into Machu Picchu.
Nice. Yeah.
So it's magical, and you get there. I think I absolutely love that trek. I've done it in December I even brought my kids on the trail. They walked it without any problem. So that gives you an idea of, you go up, but the altitude is not as high as the normal Inca Trail. And really it's magic. You arrive in Machu Picchu walking. And you arrive in the afternoon when there is no one there. There are far less people visiting Machu Picchu in the afternoon. And then you go back the next day. So then you sleep in Aguascalientes in a hotel comfortably, not in a tent. And then the next day, once you've rested from your day of hiking, you go back into Machu Picchu and you do a proper visit.
Okay.
So you go twice to Machu Picchu.
Okay. So that's the one-day Inca Trail.
That's the one day.
Talking of this, I've heard from lots of people that the final morning when the group come into Machu Picchu through Sungate, it's a real special moment. Would you say that's like the highlight of the trek?
Oh, it's the big highlight. I've cried myself when you arrive after 4-day walking. I've seen so many people with so many emotions. You arrive and you see Machu Picchu really, really far away through the sun gate. And then little by little, you walk closer and closer until you're in there. You'll feel like the Incas, basically, walking into Machu Picchu, arriving to rest.
Yes.
Arriving after 4 days of intense exercise. It's fantastic.
It's a fantastic
It's definitely the highlight of the trek.
Yeah. And I love, the amount of photos that you see on social media of people that have climbed, or done Machu Picchu with Gadventures, and then that iconic shot of the selfie with Machu Picchu in the background is, it's such an amazing photo to see, let alone, for the reward of getting to that point to be able to take that photo as well is very, very special. Well, Sarah, it's been great having you on the show to talk about the trail. You heard it here first, folks. The trip is on sale now, but permits will sell out fast. So you do need to visit gadventures.com for more info on all of our Peru trips. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us on the Gadventures show today. And I hope you're well.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for the invite. Always very happy to talk about Peru, and I hope that we just motivated lots of people to go and visit Peru today.
100%.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
Changing the world just by having the time of your life sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? But when you travel with Gadventures, that's exactly what you're doing. Our small group tours were built to directly benefit the people and places they visit. So on top of having an incredible, immersive, one-of-a-kind travel experience, you'll also be doing your parts to make the world a better place. Ask your travel agent or visit gadventures.com to learn more about the power of your travel plans and to book your next life-changing experience. Travel.radio.